Hey guys, and welcome to a brand new video here on the View from the Crowd YouTube channel, and today we are going to be previewing the Russian Grand Prix at Sochi. You know, after two brilliant races, well, one pretty epic and one boringly excellent race in Italy, to then go to a race that we know that is probably going to be very boring and very dull and very crap. It's not the most uplifting thing, you know, after you've just had a 2-week break. But there's nothing we can do about it now, so we may as well get into it. Here is my preview for the Russian Grand Prix. We start as always with Mercedes, and again we just know that they're going to be dominant this weekend. I think there's no real question or doubt about it. You know, it's always going to be Mercedes who are on top this season, and this is going to be a track which is going to suit them, you know, absolutely down to the ground, and I can only see them dominating. You know, the only thing that I'm hoping for from Mercedes this weekend is that Bottas picks up his ideas and starts challenging Lewis, because the title's done. It's over now. You know, okay, mathematically Bottas can still win it, but let's face facts. He has not been good enough and will not be good enough for the rest of this season to challenge Lewis for the title. It's going to go to Lewis at the end of the day. And this track, Sochi, is a track which Bottas goes very well at. So hopefully, just hopefully, we might see Bottas challenge Lewis, compete against Lewis, because he just lacks, I don't know what it is that he lacks, but he just lacks something to be able to challenge Lewis to, you know, even though we know this title, you know, challenges are over, can we at least make Mercedes' dominance a little bit more interesting? You know, at least when we had Rosberg, you know, in at Mercedes, he was taking the fight to Lewis, not letting Lewis run away with each championship, and it was always going down to the last few races before Lewis actually confirmed himself as champion. We're just not seeing that from Bottas. Instead, the title challenges come from other drivers or other teams, and, you know, it's just not good. It doesn't look good for him. And the fact that Mercedes have kept him on for 2021, honestly, I think they're regretting their decision more than Sainz is with his one at Ferrari. Now on to Red Bull. Sochi is never a race which they do particularly well at, so expect, you know, probably third place for Verstappen and hopefully a better result from Alex Albon. You know, he has now got his confidence back with the podium, which was brilliant, by the way. I'm really happy for Albon to get his podium. But now he needs to keep that up. You know, now he's set the benchmark, he needs to be matching it at least for the rest of this season. You know, we've been giving Gasly a lot of praise this season about how well he's been doing, and it's now time. Now that Alex is, you know, back up there, got his first podium, big confidence boost, he now needs to make the most of it and take that fight to Max. I was talking about, you know, Bottas's fight with Lewis, but, you know, Albon is still quite considerably, you know, off Verstappen's pace. I don't mind Alex, you know, being, you know, a bit off, but he needs to be, you know, only a few tenths off. He needs to be at least up there with Max, and he needs to be challenging, because Max is currently just absolutely destroying him. And honestly, he probably wouldn't have got that podium if Max hadn't retired on lap 1. I mean, or had any of the issues he's had, because, let's face it, Max had quite easily the pace, probably to win that race. And it was just not something that we saw from Alex at all in Mugello. So hopefully with this confidence boost, we're going to see him, you know, fight that bit harder, keep up with him. Definitely needs to be qualifying 5th, 4th minimum for this race. Now on to McLaren. It was a sort of a mixed fortunes weekend. I think they could have done a lot better than they did, but, you know, 6th place for Lando Norris wasn't the end of the world, and it was just unfortunate for Carlos Sainz to be caught up in an incident in turn 1 and then that horrendous crash during that race in Mugello, which was completely awful. And yeah, I'm still surprised we haven't heard anything from the FIA about that, because I'm surprised George Russell hasn't been given some sort of reprimand, because I definitely think it could have been his fault that that incident happened in the first place. But no, I think this is a track that potentially could suit McLaren quite well. It's definitely going to be tricky with Racing Point, because I could see them also doing well at this track. And, there are a few slow corners. It's quite a slow final sector, so definitely expect Renault to be challenging as well. But McLaren, they do seem to have a lot of pace. They do seem to be doing very well, and I have confidence in them to do well this weekend. They need to maintain these point scoring finishes because, we see Racing Point dropping out the points and Renault dropping out the points, and then McLaren, all the time not getting both cars finishing, which, they need to be getting these consistent point finishes, high scoring point positions, if they want to maintain their third place in the championship, because it is far from safe. So I know we haven't got a full calendar this year, but there's still plenty of races to go, which Racing Point, Renault, even potentially Ferrari and AlphaTauri could, get ahead of them. So they need to make sure that they're consistently getting these points, doing well for their drivers, because then, we're going to see McLaren probably clinch third. But they need another strong showing this weekend, and need to make sure that both Carlos and Lando are finishing the race. Now, as I've already mentioned, Racing Point, again, similar to like Spain, I think the conditions of this track, and we saw how well Racing Point did. They were pretty fast in Mugello as well, so expect them to do well this weekend. They need to be taking that fight to McLaren, as I've already said. I can say the same thing about the midfield battle each and every weekend. McLaren needs to keep scoring points to maintain their third place. Racing Point needs to make sure that they're consistently finishing higher than McLaren and Renault. Renault need to be making sure that they consistently finish higher than Racing Point and McLaren. Those three teams are just locked in this battle at the moment. They've got three very, very good cars, and they are, showing each week that they are battling with each other. And, it makes this sport so much more interesting than just having this dominance that we have at the front. And I think what we're seeing with these three midfield teams is what we're probably going to be expecting from 2022 onwards with the close racing. And hopefully we'll have, different, all these sort of very varied results where one team does very well at one track, but then sort of slips out, another team then rises. I think it's what we all want to see. And this midfield battle has been incredibly interesting, to keep an eye on throughout this season, and it's definitely going to continue. So, Racing Point, Lance Stroll, he's been a run of good results. I know he did have the crash, of course, in Mugello, but he was doing well in that race and was really taking the fight to Daniel Ricciardo, so expect him to do well. Sergio Perez was looking quick. He had a bit of an unfortunate start, but he was also looking quick in that Racing Point. So, they've got the car, they've got the drivers, they just need to just get those better results, and Russia is definitely a place where they can score a lot of points. Renault, again, as I've already mentioned, need to be finishing both cars in the points this weekend. Ocon, I think, realistically, Ocon really needs to start pulling his finger out and not allowing Daniel Ricciardo just to run away with these results. Ricciardo has been doing a lot for Renault over the last 3-4 races, and has been doing a stellar job. Well, Ocon he's been lacking somewhat, and it's not what we expected to see from Ocon this season. I think he needs to take this 2 weeks, come back, fight. I think for Ocon, he needs to be beating Daniel Ricciardo this weekend to really, state his claim in that team. I know Ricciardo won't be there last season, and he'll be partnered with Fernando Alonso. But Fernando Alonso isn't, given his age, he's not a slouch. And Ocon, he's a young driver, and he will not be wanting to be beaten by Fernando Alonso consistently throughout this season, well, next season, and the season after. So hopefully we can start seeing some better results from Ocon, but it definitely needs to start this weekend. Now to Ferrari. It was better in Mugello. They got 2 points finishes, but it definitely was a race of attrition which caused that. And Sebastian Vettel still looked very slow. He was losing time to George Russell at one point in the race. He was very fortunate with the restart and everything that he able to jump George and get that 9th place that he did. But big things need to happen from Ferrari if they're going to hope to get both cars in the points this weekend. I think it's going to be very unlikely that we see both cars in the points. They did so well here last year, but we all know why. Well, they didn't exactly do well. They had good pace there, but after the engine issue and the complete screw up of their pit strategy, it really wasn't a good race. But I expect very little difference here this weekend. I don't expect to see both Ferraris in the points. I expect maybe Charles, maybe Seb, one of them, but both of them I think is very unlikely. AlphaTauri, I think this could be a track that suits them. I keep saying that AlphaTauri are this sort of dark horse, and I think that is still the case. They do seem to work well, with the strategy. They don't do the job in qualifying, but they make sure they do the job in the race. And they keep finding themselves getting point finishes. Won a race this year. So, be on the lookout for AlphaTauri. Pierre Gasly didn't have a great race in Mugello. Of course, he was out on lap 1. And he'll be definitely looking to fight back. Kvyat wasn't the most ideal race in Mugello, but he'll definitely be wanting to get some more points on the board and keep pushing AlphaTauri, closer to Ferrari, because that's where they're heading. I think AlphaTauri's goal at this point is to be, catching the likes of Renault and Ferrari and giving them a good challenge. Now onto the calamitous Ferrari customer teams of Haas and Alfa Romeo. Of course, Kimi Raikkonen did what we thought would be the impossible and got his first points of the season back in Mugello, even with his 5-second penalty for cutting over the white line and the pit lane entry. But great result by him, and great job for Alfa Romeo to get his points. Antonio Giovinazzi, of course, was involved in a very... Well, he was probably out of all the crashes that happened on that sort of ridiculous restart, his was the most it was quite heavy. But hopefully Alfa Romeo can take these points that they scored and turn it into something a bit better, and hopefully continue to get points and challenge, because even though their qualifying pace has been pretty poor, their race pace is a lot better. So they'll definitely be hoping for a good race, clean race, take advantage of any potential chaos that goes on in front, and then hopefully they can get another solid result, maybe finish in front of the Ferraris yet again. And Haas, well, they finished last. 30, you finished 12th out of 12 cars in Mugello, beaten quite comfortably by Williams. That is poor, and it's not going to get much better, and I don't see Haas doing very well. As I keep saying, they need to be getting their cars into Q2. The Williams may qualify fairly well, but they're not unbeatable in qualifying. We've seen that it's not hard for the likes of Alfa Romeo or even the likes of Haas to push Williams out of Q2. So that's what Haas need to do. They need to make sure they come here. They've had 2 weeks off. Hopefully they brought some upgrades to their car. Get into Q2. Get both cars solidly into Q2 and then try and push on in the race. Take advantage of the start. Try and get as good a start as possible. Maybe be on the precipice of the top 10. Just have a better race. I'm not expecting points from Haas, but I'm expecting good races from Haas. And this is a team that only finished 4th in championship 2 seasons ago. We know that they have a quality team that can do wonders. But these last 1.5 seasons now have been piss poor, and something needs to change at Haas if it's going to continue like this. They need to make sure that they're getting their cars and they're having good races and not finishing towards the back, being chased by the Williams, because that's not good enough. Hopefully something will change at Haas, and hopefully we'll start seeing the competitiveness that we saw when they first joined Formula 1 back in 2016. And finally, we are on to Williams, and they... I don't know, it feels just like the same old story over and over and over again. Expect good things in quality, expect very little in the race. George was doing a great job in Mugello. At the start of the race, he was solidly in the top 10. I thought this could be it. This could be the time that George Russell gets his first point. But no, he gets a really poor start. He's at the back of the field and he can't even take advantage of Kimi's 5-second penalty. It's not ideal for Williams. They've, under all this new management now, I get it, they're probably just in this just sort of like this period where it's all changing and I'm not expecting that much. But please, Williams, just have better races. You know, it wouldn't surprise me again if they get a car into Q2 this race. I'm not expecting it, but it wouldn't surprise me. But can we just not have you finish last? You know, it would just be nice for Williams not to finish last. That's all I want, please. So there we have it. That is my preview for the 2020 Russian Grand Prix. Yeah, I'm not expecting much. Sochi has always not been a great track, and it doesn't provide very good racing. It's honestly just a glorified parade. You know, sort of like 50% of the time. Well, 50% is being kind. It's more like 90% of the time. But yeah, hopefully something can change. A bit of a calamity race, safety cars, just something to spice up this race. You know, Mugello wasn't the greatest race, but we had so much action that I don't think anyone really cared. That's what I'm kind of hoping again. I don't want like a race like it was where you have cars crashing out hit left, right and centre, red flags and stuff. Just maybe a safety car which just, you know, makes it a bit more interesting. Maybe not likely, but maybe a two-stop strategy might make this race a little bit more interesting. But I can hope. So guys, that's all from me. If you did like this video, make sure to leave a like, and if you are new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Of course, if you haven't checked out my blog already, the link to that is down in the description below. Make sure to follow that so you get updated on all new content that I'm putting out. There's a lot of, you know, sport coming back now, so I'm starting to post there a lot more regularly. As you can see now, I'm back at university, so you know, things might take a bit of a slow once, you know, university comes back into full swing, but I'll make sure to try and get as much content on here, on the YouTube channel and on my blog. So guys, thank you so much for watching. My name's Blue Edwards. Thank you.